Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie, and welcome back to Secondhand Sickness. So today I thought we would do another VHS roundup video to talk about some recent online finds that I have made. And today is actually going to be one big haul of VHS tapes, and these are also going to be erotic titles. So essentially some classic sort of 80s pornography, I suppose. These are all on VHS tapes, and I got them from the same collector in one batch. It goes by the name of Svartskägg, so in case you're in the Swedish VHS community, you might know who this is. So just a bit of a shout out and thank you to him. So I'm just gonna run through these, and the first one is a tape which is gonna be hard to censor. I'm just gonna do this because I actually needed both hands to censor this. So this is Star 90, featuring Angel, Jesse St. James, Laurie Smith, and Colleen Brennan. And you know what? We are actually not going to show the back covers at all, because I just know that they are very uncensored, so I can't really do that. And we're gonna see how we can even display this without having to censor anything in the post-production. Now I know there will be some uncensored images on the spines, but they're not gonna be super explicit. It's usually just a pair of breasts, so they're very tiny, so let's just leave it at that. Next up is one which is a bit hard to translate, but at least it's not particularly uncensored on the cover. And this is a title which is called Längre in Deckan, which would translate to Further in Detective, sort of. I just found this, this is the kind of cover art and titles that I like to get, because they're very sort of cheesy and kind of ugly in a way, I suppose, in the typical sort of 80s weirdo, trashy porn look. I don't know. But yeah, I do find this funny because it's one of those titles that you see, it's like, that's funny in a way for some reason. Plus it has the really sort of cringy title from the 80s, so yeah, quite hip to get this. So that is the second one. We are going to stack this up as well. Third title in the series is also one which I found a bit funny, and I'm not entirely sure how much of a spoof this is, but it is spoof-ish, and it is called Barbara Dare, Jane Bond 006, and the movie is called Loving Spy. So yeah, another one of those really sort of cringy 80s covers to me, and yeah, a lot of these titles are from the Max label, which is also a label I've been looking for, because I just think they make generally kind of interesting covers, and I don't know, they just feel like a really big part of VHS culture in Sweden, and especially like the erotic titles were very common on the Max label, so it's quite a common and well-known label within the sort of erotic film community in Sweden in the 80s, I suppose. People recognize this particular label, I would think. Then we have another one kind of along the same lines. This is gonna be a bit more difficult to censor. So here we have a title which is called Private Angels. Also has a pair of nipples on the cover, but I like this one because this is one of those which sort of tends to have a bit more focus on the storyline. Like, this seems like more of a sort of detective story with the gun, and it's not just generally like typical, I guess it is typical porn, but I like the fact that this film actually tries to advertise something more than just putting the woman on the cover. So I don't know, might watch this, kind of interesting, and we'll just see what happens next. Here's another one which is a bit uncensored, so gonna do the over the lamp shot again. There we go. So this is another one which is called Don't Touch My Daughter, starring Nicole Stanton's story. Is that her name? Nicole Stanton's Nicole's, oh, is that the title of the actual film? Nicole Stanton Story Part 2? I have no idea, but in any case, I found this curious, or sort of, I think this is a pretty sexy cover, so gonna see if we can, how do we do this? Let's just place this there, okay. So next up we have another one, not super uncensored, but we're gonna do this anyway, I guess. So here is one which is called Flesh Dance, starring Shauna Evans. Not particularly uncensored or anything, but still doing that just in case. And next in line, let's see what we got. Here's one which is not from the Max label, but I picked this up just because I thought it looked, I don't know, just look at this. This is one of my favorites in the lot, I think, because this looked so cheesy. And it's something called Who's That Girl? And this actually felt like this reminds me of, what is it? Like the, trying to remember, not Tank Girl. God, I can't remember now. It reminds me of this typical sort of 90s band or something. God, I can't remember what it is now. But this girl in particular really reminds me of this, I think it was a 90s band. We might come back to that, I don't know. So, in any case, then we have another one, and this one is also one of the titles which I was probably most interested in. This is called The Whorehouse, and I'm not entirely sure what the original title of this is. I think it is actually Walking Small. It's a bit of a play on the Walking Tall movie, obviously, because this guy is, you know, yeah, you can tell, you get the idea. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this, and as usual we are not going to check the back cover because I can't really do that. I mean, YouTube is very heavy on censorship, and so I do have to be careful, and I really hope people are not offended by this, because that is definitely not my intention. I just like to show the people who do care and who are interested in this, show them some of this really classic erotic artwork. So next one we have is called Telephone Sex, but it's in Swedish, so telephone sex, but it's pretty self-explanatory, kind of the same word essentially. Now this is not from the Max label, this is from something called Metro Film, but also a cover I thought was pretty cool. And I think this was also, the Whorehouse is also from the Metro Film label. But I do like this general design, I have to say. I think that they have pretty sort of appealing overall graphics to them in terms of like the fonts and the whole thing, that the layout is very coherent. I always get a bit of a kick out of that, not just for porn titles, but for VHS titles in general. And then we actually get to the last title in this lot, which is something that is called Pleasure Channel. I don't know who released this, not sure if I can tell. It is from Metro Film Sweden. Not a title I am aware of or have heard anything about, but I did sort of like this cover. Seems like this also has a very sort of interesting storyline. I'm not, you know, it wasn't a title I was super excited in, but I did like the cover, and I tried to focus on covers which have the not too explicit design to them. Like, you know, I tend to buy these titles because I think they are fun to display. And it's not particularly fun to display titles with, like, you know, super hardcore penetration scenes on the cover or whatever. That's not really what I'm about. I much more prefer to purchase and collect titles like this, which have the somewhat sleazy or erotic but not super explicit design to them, to be honest, because it's no fun to I mean, you can't really, who in the right mind is gonna display like hardcore VHS covers on a shelf? You know, I don't do that because I'm a collector. But even so, you know, I do have guests over, might have kids and whatnot, and I don't want them to see anything that might sort of scar them or make them uncomfortable. But, you know, for titles like these, it's just a pair of breasts on the cover. I don't think anybody's really taking damage from that, to be honest. So in any case, this is the entire lot for the day. I got this as one big purchase, one big lot, and it was priced at a total of 379 Swedish crowns, which is definitely a really good deal. That's roughly 38 euro, and that is more than I usually spend on VHS tapes of this category, but it is actually a really good deal. I know that several of these titles would probably be priced at like 20 euro a piece. And you know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 titles. So yeah, this was definitely a very good deal to me. I was really happy to get this because I am really missing a lot of these sort of cheesy looking covers from the Max label. And I even have a original Max label metal sign in my man cave. So I am really looking to do something with that and make a bit of a Max collection display or something like that. So we're gonna see what that happens. Might come back to that in a future video from the man cave. But that is essentially it for this video. Really hope you enjoyed it, and as usual, hope to see you all next time.